Jay, thank you so much, and everyone for joining today. Couldn't be more excited today about some hot topics that we've been talking about within energy. So a lot of you kind of know we've been talking about procurement, electricity, and natural gas, which the pricing has been pretty low this year. But today we're going to be speaking about how you can kind of tie telecom, into energy, as a result of technology that allows addressing the pandemic. So it's a very relevant topic today. So a lot of you have heard me talk about IoT over the years, the Internet of Things. And so it's really taking off this year. It's a major shift in light of what's going on in the world right now. So IoT is the path of the conversation to have with your client to tie connectivity into energy. And we'll speak more about this. It'll be a theme that you'll hear from us on through Q4 because it's something that's very important to customers. So, as an example specifically, air filtration is far more relevant than ever in the pandemic. So we'll talk about that. We'll touch on it. Could also not be more excited to touch on LiFi technology, not Wi-Fi, but LiFi. And it's exciting because we have the patent holders of that technology on the line today with us. So what I'd like to do first is do a quick overview on the procurement, the electricity and natural gas, which is kind of the core of our business. And then we can sort of jump into some of the other concepts. So first up though, I want to go ahead and introduce the panel today and make sure we know who's on the panel. As you can see on the screen, we've got John Fallon from JMK Technology Group. We've got Corey Lynn from LVX System. We've got Dr. Jason Field from USA Nanocode, Dan Rhodes from CT Solutions, and our own Patrick Mason, who's the director of the channel in energy for AppSmart. So let's go ahead and move to the next slide. So as we talk about, the space, and you've all heard us talking this year about pricing. So, gas pricing, as predicted, went up 25% last month. However, what's so amazing is that this month it went back down. So when I say that we have about another few weeks or a month, I really mean that, because that spike in pricing last month is predicted to happen again in Q4, probably in the middle of October sometime. No one really knows for sure, but it's a natural trend for as we get into fall, closer to winter, the gas prices will go up. So if you've got customers, now is definitely the time to go and get the bills. We can do a proposal for you for electricity and natural gas. That's really the focus for the next few weeks. So don't want to take too much thunder from the call, but I want to mention the time sensitivity on this. A lot of people are predicting that we're going to wake up to higher prices this winter in electricity and natural gas. So important to understand that. Quickly on this slide, I want to also mention some of the things you see on the slide. The first one is that, customers can expect a reduction in their monthly bills of 10 to 30%, and you have the potential for a double-digit residual in this space. Energy prices are still relatively low. Yes, they have gone up, as I mentioned last month, but then they've gone back down, and they're still relatively low right now. That could definitely change in a month, though. So again, now is the time. This is really just a billing change. I think a lot of people are concerned and they think it's so complicated. Frankly, there's nothing easier to sell this year. In Q2, when we couldn't install telecom circuits, we were closing big energy deals at the same time by pivoting to that. And so remember, it's a billing change. So there's no installation and there's no provisioning of the service. It's a service they're already using. And all we're asking them to do is basically look at saving on the cost. Also, the utility still does the customer service. I think this is really important. We had one advisor who did a few hours of work, closed a $15,000 deal on a 3-year term, and is going to be getting paid a solid 5-figure amount of income off that account for doing a few hours of work. That's literally how easy this can be. So another important point, I think, that helps with the conversation around how easy this is and why it's a better motion for a customer in some ways, is that it comes from the same source. So this is sourced by the ISO and to the grid, right? So this is coming from the same source that they're using today. I think my favorite one on this slide, though, is that there are no tickler files in energy. If a customer is in a contract today whether it's 6 months from now or a year from now, think mortgage. You can lock them in on a low rate today. And then when that pricing goes up, first of all, the savings may only be 10, 15% right now, whatever it may be. But that savings could easily double by next year, because in the history of when gas pricing has changed like this, has gone up 3 times in history, and every time the year after, it actually went way up. So a 10 to 15% savings may not seem like a ton this year when you quote it to them, but over the term, they stand to save a lot more than that, potentially 20% plus. So I really wanted to mention this and emphasize it. And so again, don't be intimidated by if someone's in a contract. That's a sign that you want to definitely engage them and lock them in. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. So what we're going to now talk about is co-brandable collateral to help you with your customer conversations. So we always recommend that you get the bills and get us on the phone, but you can start and get interest with this collateral, which is co-brandable if you send us your logo. This first one is really one that's more for you. This is, that's why we call it the selling guide. It's for you and your sellers, and it's really more designed for the team, right? It speaks to, as you can see there, the product description, the benefits, some of the things I just mentioned on the last slide. But this one also gets under the hood a little bit, and it talks about the persona and the sales targeting. So you can see there, who are the buyers, what verticals, and some of the benefits that they can get from the program, right? Qualifying questions, et cetera. And then it's got that map. And again, I didn't drill too much into the map today because you guys have all seen it, but that map will help you when you navigate into the space. One final thing I want to mention on that map and on related to electricity and natural gas. Actually, let's go to the next slide and I'll just speak right to it. So before I do that, I wanted to go ahead and talk about, on this slide, you can see there's a summary and you can see the map there. It's a visual aid. The summary is that procurement is electricity and natural gas. Professional services would be like expense management, building controls, HVAC, and the cloud. And then finally, efficiency would be like LED lighting, solar, water, EV charging, cogeneration, the list goes on. So John had a really nice win. John, I wanted to ask you real quickly, on this one, you can see on the bottom there, it's a $6,000 deal. What a nice deal. Almost $250,000 contract value from a manufacturing company that was paying too much for electricity and natural gas. Just wanted to quickly ask you, John, what interested you in starting to sell energy?
Well, it's like all of us, rates are coming down, cost for UCAS is coming down. How can we make more in our existing customers? And it was just a natural fit just to simply ask them, what are you doing for your gas and electric? Have you had it reviewed? Again, it's not like someone walks in the door and says, hey, I have no electric, unlike with the phones. So it's a very easy sale. We got the bills, sent them out to you. You guys pretty much did everything, and it was ship out the contract, they sign off. And from there, I don't really do a whole lot.
Nice, and I love that, John, because I was just talking about another advisor who had a nice deal as well. Same kind of thing. It's the gift that keeps giving. You don't need to stay involved. It kind of runs its course. It's a price, right? So, biggest deal with AppSmart to date this summer in energy, was it just good timing with the pricing being low this year? Is that kind of why you were able to nail that one?
I honestly think it's just because I asked. It just happened to be timing. It's just right place, right time. But again, if you don't ask, you'll never get anything.
Yeah, I love that. And I love what John's saying, because ultimately that's really what it is. It's shifting the conversation away from, hey, I'm doing your telecom. It's a shift to, in light of what's going on in the world today, I'm also doing other utilities like energy. Can you send me your electricity or natural gas bill? It's just shifting the question to that question, right? That's really all I think it is. Patrick, quickly, anything to add to the conversation? I know you were involved with this deal as well.
Yeah, well, John's being a little bit humble. I think he's got a lot of really dedicated and trusted clients. And I think the most success that we're seeing from people like John and Dan, also on the panel, is going to your old clients who you already have trust with and selling what you've been selling in the past, and asking that question, a very simple one that John asked, kind of take a look at your energy bill. So I think Vince and I and the team are encouraging to go to your base first, with people that have trusted you, because this is a very easy shift and it's a very easy sell. A little bit to get used to in the front, but not difficult at all. And always bring us in as a subject matter expert if you need a little bit of help providing clarification. But yeah, like John said, just ask the question.
Okay, well, let's move on to the next slide. Thank you, John, for that. And so, ultimately, when we look at this next slide, we're talking about procurement, right? This piece is designed for the customer. And so we encourage you to send us your logo, which we'll be happy to put on the upper right-hand corner of this piece. Also, if you send us the contact information that you'd like to put on the bottom, you can see the gray area is designed for that. This slide, with the graph, is a little bit more customer-facing, showing the trend within the industry with the pricing. So again, it's a customer-facing piece. So it's more designed for the customer in terms of how it works. Does have some of the same information. There's a great quote down there on the bottom, though, from a customer. So that kind of helps as well. Let's go ahead and move to the next slide. So now I'd like to shift over to Dan Rhodes from CT Solutions. Dan, I know you've had some success selling natural gas. What interested you in selling energy?
Thanks for asking. It's kind of a multi-bullet point answer. First of all, businesses are in business to make money, and saving money is a part of making that money. So going back to the relationship with your existing customers, especially if they're looking to procure new technology, if you can show them a way to basically shift money that they're already spending from one expense to increasing their ability in technology, it's a win-win situation. Another motivation for me was that it helps level out commissions, like we were talking about. In the wintertime, sometimes it's more difficult to get out and to sell and to meet those customers. But with the energy, when it gets colder, the electric bills, the gas bills go up. So therefore, it helps boost the commissions or level them out through the year. And then the last one was basically it's just, to make a long story short, it's just building the relationship all the way around. Working with these vendors and stuff like that is great as well.
Yeah, no, that's a great answer. And I think it kind of speaks to the scope a little bit. How about, did you just add it to your pitch? Like I kind of said, hey, look, in light of what's going on, I've added this to my mix, or was it just an organic process for you? I know you started years ago, so was it just to add it to the mix as you went?
I have to tell you, when I went to one of the first AppSmart meetings that brought out energy, I mean, it just kind of opened my mind up, and I just started going through clients in my head, and I was thinking about all the clients that could benefit from saving money and energy. One of them was a 15-location hotel, and again, I had a great relationship with them. And I sat down and I had that person-to-person conversation, and I said, I would imagine with 15 locations of a hotel that your energy bills can get kind of costly. And they're like, yeah. So they were just kind of eating out of my hands, so to speak, and it just kind of made the conversation really easy.
Nice. I know, Dan, that you get into IoT and you're excited about it like I am, right? Do you kind of see it as I do when I open the call that, in energy, energy in combination with connectivity. So you got connectivity and you got mobility and then energy coming in. It's like the trifecta of IoT. Would you agree with that? And are you excited about that?
Absolutely. I tell my customers that every single application that they have on their cell phone, that they have remote access to any part of their business, it hits the corporate data network, and it's a migration. It goes hand in hand.
Nice.
Hey, Patrick, anything to add to the conversation on that note?
So many good points there. The one that I love that Dan mentioned the other day was putting something in place and not having to worry about it in the winter months when it's cold. So it is like Ben said at the beginning, you're buying from the same source. The utility handles everything. It's just a line item change, and it's an annuity that just keeps on giving. And making this sticky for your customer and adding energy, everything related to energy, building safety, cleanliness, air filtration, lighting, is an opportunity with the portfolio we put together. So thanks, Dan.
Yes, thank you. Well, let's move on. We've got a lot to talk about. Let's go ahead and keep going here. So on the next slide, excuse me, this is our energy efficiency overview brochure. This one is great. And the reason why I like this one is because let's just say, I've heard a lot of advisors say, well, I'm in a regulated state, so I'm not going to sell energy. There's a whole other suite of products and services that you can sell in regulated states, and that's what we'll talk about now. In fact, as we get into the presentations today, the products we're going to be talking about are products you can use anywhere in the US, just to be clear. So, when we look at this one, it's really about the other stuff that we do, right? On the left side, you can see the recurring items. We talked about electricity, natural gas. We also have building controls in the cloud, HVAC controls, and energy expense management. A lot of you have heard of telecom expense management. This would be for energy. And then on the right, some of these products have a residual component, but not all of them. Equipment or non-recurring base would be like your LED lighting products, water efficiency, both on valves. I literally am saving 30% right behind me in this property on a valve that I bought, that we actually also have available for advisors and customers. We also have leak detection. We're in a building, we can put sensors, and then if there's any leaks in the building, it'll notify them proactively, right? So it's a really, really hot product. Electric vehicle charging, then finally solar and cogeneration. What I kind of like to call the energy trifecta is when you put the solar on the roof, the LED lighting on the ceiling, and then you put the EV charging station in the carport. So if you know of clients that have facilities with parking structures, perfect fit for them. So let's go ahead and move. And there's also a really nice quote on this one too, IoT quote. So, okay, so now we're going to get into a roundtable discussion. And so, Dan, I wanted to ask you, what made the jump into other services like expense management?
Again, just to make it sticky and deeper with the client. And when you're talking to businesses and they are sometimes struggling in the economy and stuff like that, sometimes, competition. So any time that you can bring opportunity to save money to their business, it's a natural conversation.
Yes, absolutely. John, how about you? Are you working to upsell any efficiency services at all on top of the procurement that you've sold?
I have been working on that just recently, but again, for me, I just think this is a great opportunity. I mean, maybe not every account you're going to make a couple $100, but whether you're making $5 or $20, it's just a numbers game. You start adding up, and next thing you know, you got a couple $1,000s for pretty much doing nothing. And like Dan said, you're getting sticky. Sometimes we lose customers for whatever the reason on the voice and data side. If we're in there with another service and all of a sudden the person that came in, the new IT manager comes in, brings his guy in, when he leaves 2 years or 3 years from now, we're still in there now. We can get back in because we have the gas and electric or any of the other services.
Got it. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So, I mean, I guess that, you put it in a box right there. Patrick, anything to add there?
Again, to what they both said, the portfolio allows for an increased awareness in what AppSmart in general can offer. And an area where a lot of people, especially in the small and medium-sized business space, the customers that John and Dan are attacking, have not been approached about having an audit of your energy spend. And again, that's a simple way to get into it, to take a look at the bills. And people don't really get that question from the SMB standpoint. So
yeah, it's really interesting because I remember last month we profiled a customer that was in Illinois, which is one of the most mature states for deregulation. The customer didn't even know they could switch. And this was a really nice deal and a customer at a bank that just didn't even know they had the opportunity. So you'd be surprised how many customers don't know. So again, encouraging that, you just ask for those extra bills. Let's kind of move into the IoT conversation and tie this back into telecom a little bit. So, how do procurement and energy efficiency, Dan, fit into what you already do in IoT? Because I noticed, from your site that you do a little bit of IoT today. How does it fit in?
Well, one of the things is it helps my company distinguish myself from all the competitors out there. Again, I have a 6-step process that I've created, and I get down at the beginning and I get into depth about the business's business plan. Where are they planning on going the next year, the next 5 years? And it gets away from how many telephones do you have? How many employees do you have? It really builds a relationship. And the IoT, I mean, again, it's all over the news if you just look for it. And like Patrick said a little earlier, there's a lot of customers out there that don't really even know what's possible. So it really helps segue into that conversation about getting them to talk about their business, about their goals and their direction. And you become the consultant, you become the architect, the advisor, and you really differentiate yourself from your competition out there.
Yes, I completely agree. I think that, if you look at the slide, you can see, one of my favorite statements to make to a customer is, what is your IoT strategy? If they know the answer, enterprises know the answer and they'll tell you, and then you can articulate it and you can run and help them. Mid-markets, sometimes they'll know it, sometimes they won't. But if they don't, that's an opportunity, right, to kind of extrapolate. Small SMBs typically don't have a strategy, and you can help them with this. So it's a great question to ask to open the conversation for energy in particular, because again, all this stuff fits into that IoT conversation. John, what about you? How does it augment what you already do in telecom and cloud, in the energy space?
Sorry. It's just another way of separating yourself from what everybody else does. And even if you are, for other agents out there that are, I don't understand this, you get in the door with the gas and electric, and guys like Pat and other people in the team can help open doors up, asking the right questions. It's just getting in, separating yourself from everybody else, and that's pretty much the key.
I agree. The differentiators is the theme I'm hearing. Patrick, anything to contribute there?
Yeah, I love what Dan said about being the architect of a solution. We have a recent win where we went in with gas and electricity conversation and ended up doing a complete IoT understanding of equipment load on a manufacturing floor for a large government contractor. And it was, and we won it against, with a nimble provider, and we won it against Honeywell and Schneider and IBM were up against them, but we were able to pivot and architect a solution that really fit the client's needs. So that's a great way to describe it, Dan.
Yes, agreed. Okay, so let's move to the next slide. Thanks, guys. So on this one, we've all heard that saying, right? 50% of nothing is better than 100. 50% of nothing is better than 50% of something is better than 100% of nothing. Sorry. And that's really what our referral program is all about. I mean, ultimately, we know you guys are all busy, and while selling energy is much easier than selling telecom for many reasons I've already talked about, you still may not have time to jump in. We get it. So all you need to do is email your client. We have templates for you too. We can just literally give you the template and you can email your client and just copy us in, and we'll literally do everything from, setting up a call to getting the bills to closing the deal for you, and you get paid like 50% commission. And so again, for those of you that want to get in, think about it as sort of on-the-job training. You would then be able to learn as you go. You could kind of watch the process, and as you learn it, then you could eventually just do them yourself, right? So this is one that has been helpful for some to get them going and get them interested because they know they have the resource. So just know that if you've got that in your head, this is too complicated, or I don't know what I don't know, these kinds of things, that's exactly what this program is for. So really all you need to do, it's fine if you want to just send us email addresses and we can initiate the email and copy you in it, or we can give you a template and you can send it out. So let us know if you have more questions on that one, but we're happy to help you with that as well. Let's move to the next slide. So on this one, 2 tickets to paradise is a lot easier than you may think to get. So for energy, and this only applies to energy right now, provider-based sponsorships for President's Club are pending right now. But as it relates to energy, you have until the end of the year, and the top seller of energy will be going to Nevis, which is a beautiful island for President's Club in late Q1. And so in order to qualify, it's $30K to qualify, and the top seller will go. But you can also qualify in a different motion. let's just say you've got like 30K today, right now on connectivity and cloud, that you've grown your base by 30K. Well, if you add another 30K in energy, then you can qualify that way too. So you just need to do at least 50,000 in combined growth to get there. So that's President's Club. Let's go ahead and move to the next slide. So on this one, we're actually going to be moving into the presentations. And Dr. Field, I know, actually, you can imagine how busy this guy is. He's a specialist on air filtration as it relates to the pandemic. And he's literally been on the road. Last week, he had to miss the dry run. And I'm not sure if he made it. I can't really see who's on the call, but we do have Dr. Glasser, who's ready to help us out and go ahead and pinch hit for Mr. Field today. So is Jason on or no? Don't believe he's on. Okay, so again, he had said he was going to try to make it. At the end of the day, though, we're going to present for you guys anyway, and we can do a follow-up as well. So with that, I want to introduce William Glasser to speak more about it. And let's go to the next slide. Bill. Maybe muted.
Who's going to unmute me?
There you go. We can hear you.
Okay,
You're on.
good. Yes, I was saying I'm a doctor of soul. I hope that
There you go.
qualifies. Anyway, we were intent upon finding an air filtration system and a company that had a lot of good choices before the pandemic. But once we encountered the pandemic, it became very clear that we had to ramp up. And USA Nanocoat has both nanocoating products and a very good selection of air filtration systems. Their technology protects surfaces. It's good for air purification, energy efficiency. It creates healthier living environments for our businesses, our families, and our communities.
Hey, Bill, a quick question for you.
Detail
So-
about nanocoating, but
What types of units are there in air filtration? Is there like a couple different types of units that our audience would like to hear about?
we have several types. Do we have the slide with the pictures, or should we just go in order?
Just go ahead and verbalize it. I think it's better. Yeah.
Well, there are several types, of course, of the air filtration system, some which people are already familiar with, but some of the ones that help on the commercial end. There's a standalone filter that we have through USA Nanocoat, which can clean about up to about 5,000 square feet. Particularly good for doctors' offices, dentist offices, schools, restaurants, healthcare facilities. And another type of filter is actually they're filterless, but they run on PCO technology. PCO technology is photocatalytic oxidation. That's a technology that was developed by NASA, and it completely will eliminate spores, VOCs, bacterias, viruses, anything basically that passes through the filters. And there are all sizes that we can offer our clients if they have an induct system and an HVA system that's in a large facility. We have, through USA Nanocoat, we have induct type of filters using this PCO technology. One particular one I like is got a kind of a honeycomb structure. And when UV light passes through that, it disperses the cleaned air through the entire system, cleans molecules on all levels, basically attacking the contaminants and pathogens and destroying them. And it's perfectly safe for human beings and animals. Naturally, when we improve the air quality, We have more productivity, fewer sick days, sharper focus, and of course, very good for preventing widespread illnesses like COVID.
Yeah, I love this. I love the quote over here on the right. You know, the 99.6%. That was so exciting to me. At the end of the day, you can see specifically there that the units destroy viruses. You know, both in the air and on surfaces by a large number. So it's an amazing technology in relation to that. You know, and photocatalytic oxidation just from NASA, just incredible stuff. So let's go ahead and move to the next slide. And Bill, can you just speak real quickly to this visual slide?
Clearly, we can see that the viruses can spread even greater than 6 feet. So the idea is by having a system, and some of these systems are not that expensive, you know, for a business. Again, a 5,000 square foot can be covered with, you know, less than $2,000 for a really comprehensive air filtration system.
Nice. You know, on this one, I like the visual aid. You can see, you know, you got that fresh air flow into the office space, the hallway, the bathroom, and then you've got, you know, the exhaust vents, and that's your kind of your flow. But I love the stats here too. You can kind of see specifically how far they can travel. I know a lot of us have talked about this and wondered about it. I think the droplet nuclei is the most interesting one, 160 plus feet. That's the one that I think kind of scared me a little bit. And 15 feet, wow, I didn't know anyone could sneeze 15 feet, but I guess it's happening out there. So anyway, just giving you some metrics there. Let's go to the next slide.
Yeah, hi, this is Jason. I just
hey,
wanted
Jason.
to,
Jason, hey,
Hey.
sir, thanks for joining us. We were pinch hitting for you, but if you want to take over from here, please do.
I do apologize for not being able to make the earlier part of the meeting at the conference.
We know how busy you are. I covered for you. I told them you were pretty slammed, so we appreciate you showing up.
Yeah, and please feel free to add in any comments as we go through.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so
take it from here, please do.
Sure. And again, the PCO technology, this is not a new technology that was recently developed in response to the pandemic. This has been a existing technology. It's been tested and validated for more than 20 years, originally developed by NASA to solve an issue they were having with growing food in contained environments. So many fruits and vegetables produce ethylene gas, and that causes them, fruits and vegetables, to ripen and rot prematurely. And so they had to come up with the technology to solve this issue, a technology that produced no byproducts, as this was in a contained environment. And so that's kind of the background behind the development of PCO technology. NASA licensed this technology for commercial use back in 2000, maybe 2001. And since then, it's been used in a variety of industries, food storage and processing, medical industries, commercial, residential. So in terms of its ability to kill viruses, many of these devices actually are much more effective than the 99.9%. And I'll show you some data on that later. We can see up to 5-6 log reduction in pathogens, a wide variety of pathogens, in fact. And so this has been tested. Our specific reactors have over 10,000 hours of testing data, and there are over 35,000 peer-reviewed publications on PCO technology over the last 20 years. So one of the best studied technologies, I think, out there that's available for killing viruses. Let's see if we could go to the next slide. This is just an example of some of the tests that we have done. We can see here on the H5N1 virus, this virus actually is known as a surrogate to the SARS-CoV-2 coronavirus. And so we've done testing on viruses very similar. We also have testing data from a sneeze simulation, machine, which basically shows instantaneously a 78% reduction in microbial aerosolides. After 1 minute, that number is about 90 to 95%. After 5 minutes, you start getting into the 99+% reduction. So it's a very fast acting technology in comparison with other available technologies. For example, if you did the same test with a HEPA filter, you would probably end up with a 0 reduction, because for the HEPA filters to work, the air has to be pulled through the filtration device itself, and that takes a lot more than just seconds to work. So you're looking at oftentimes you need a certain number of air exchanges per hour to clean a room using filtration-based technology. So that's one of the large advantages of this technology. If you think of it, these air cleansing molecules are already in place in the indoor environment before the sneeze occurs. That's how it's effective. No other technology can do that. It requires pulling that cloud of aerosols and pathogens past people to the filter, which then generates clean air. So one of the main advantages, and by the way, these air cleansing molecules exist naturally outside. They're created in the presence of UV light, oxygen, and water vapor. So anytime the sun is shining outside, if you go outside, the concentration of these air cleansing molecules are about 10 times greater than that of the indoor environment. So this technology works by essentially bringing the outdoor air inside with these air cleansing molecules. And by the way, without those air cleansing molecules existing naturally outside, our atmosphere would be probably unbreathable, very, very contaminated. So it's nature's natural cleansing mechanism. Next slide, please. This is just a summary of some of the pathogens and contaminants that we have tested and have results on. Again, a lot of these results are obtained within a 4-hour period or less, so the time varies based on the test. But you can see we have MRSA, a wide variety of pathogens. The H1N1 is another pathogen that's known as a surrogate. It's a virus very similar in structure to the SARS-CoV-2. If you look down here, volatile organic compounds, there's an average 91% reduction, and that's over 60 different VOCs that have been tested. And I mention this specifically because VOCs are a problem in many office buildings. In fact, after a building, a newly constructed building is finished, in certain states like California, there's a period of time before that building can be occupied because of off-gassing. So all the materials they use to build not just the buildings themselves, but the furniture and materials within the building, they off-gas, and those contaminants get trapped in the office space, and it gives people what's known as sick building syndrome. And that can vary among people widely, but many studies have shown with clean indoor air quality, there's a big increase in productivity, focus, and concentration. This has been shown at, for example, students, schools that have implemented this technology, they show an increase in student performance scores and test scores. So lots of advantages beyond the pandemic in terms of implementing this technology. Also in terms of just reducing sick days and lost productivity. The flu season, when it comes through certain offices, if you have cubicles or whatnot, it can affect some companies more than others. And so this is a very affordable way to prevent that. In fact, prior to the pandemic, there's a lot of incentive to implement this technology just for those very reasons, improve various products. I guess next slide, please. Okay, this is just kind of a schematic showing some of the properties of the photocatalytic coatings that are used. These are based on titanium dioxide. I'll explain a little bit about the safety of that in a minute, but there are different properties. The ones that, or the one we're most interested now is this one in the center, the self-disinfecting property, in which these coatings have been shown to have an incredible ability to inactivate viruses, pathogens, mold, and other contaminants as well. These coatings also work to purify the air. And that was their primary use prior to the pandemic. They're also self-cleaning coatings. And so depending on where they're used, they have a lot of other benefits and advantages in terms of keeping surfaces clean and increasing the longevity of surfaces. They protect surfaces from moisture, humidity, UV light. So, and you can see here at the bottom, this particular formulation that USA NanoCoat has in terms of the binder that we've developed enables our product to go on a wide variety of surfaces. Our formulations work on all surfaces except glass, in which case we have a special formulation for the glass surface. Next slide. Just an example here of a hospital area that has implemented some of the PCO technology. You could see some of the results here within minutes. They showed a 92% reduction in bacterial count. And, other studies have shown in detail, as I mentioned, they can do a lot better than just 99.9%. Here's a 6-log reduction in anthrax spores. And so these anthrax spores are much more durable and resistant and much more difficult to kill than any sort of virus, specifically even the coronavirus. So very effective technology. Again, it's been implemented in lots of different applications and industries. Let's see if, I'm not sure if there's another slide after this, perhaps.
Yeah, Jason, I'm happy to just close this one out really quickly because I know you specialize in the air filtration and COVID related stuff. So just in a nutshell, with nano coating, the technology enables efficiency by keeping buildings cooler in the summer and warmer in the winter. The practical applications are huge there in the metro areas. Anything else you would like to add just real quickly, Dr. Field, on this one? Just kind of went through some of the stuff on the site, that kind of thing, and added it.
Yeah, no, I think, this is, it's great for cost effectiveness and it's excellent for the environment. So.
Yeah, we can go to the next slide. I think this, this one right here is just kind of showing the gallery a little bit of some of the nano-cutting products and services and shows the effectiveness. Those images, you can't see them very well, but you get the idea, right? So fabric, wood, and then there's a couple different products and services there. So I believe that's what we had for that. Yeah, so Jason, I'm sure we'll have questions for you in a few minutes. In fact, there was a couple that already came into the chat. But let's move on from here. And so super excited. Next up is Corey Lynn from LVX. Could not be more excited to hear about LiFi. But I don't want to take your thunder, Corey. So please tell us more about LVX and LiFi technology.
Thank you very much, Vince, and thank you everyone for the time today. So again, my name is Corey Lynn with LVX System, and what we're here to talk to you about today is LVX and the LiFi platform. Now, some of the current market challenges that we're looking to address are around fluorescent lighting, in particular today. There is a significant expense to maintain fluorescent lighting. It can be challenging for some entities to accept that cost, but we have worked with facility managers who have been able to identify sometimes as high as 15 to 20% additional cost savings associated with maintaining above and beyond the electricity, which we identify as being expensive to operate. There is obviously significant savings in converting from fluorescents to LEDs. We also have identified that, and not just ourselves, but multiple studies have identified that fluorescent lighting is very much less desirable for productivity. And one of the things that we'll talk about, it's actually falls under a lack of lighting control, is that our 4-foot bulbs are able to have color adjustment in them up from 6,000 Kelvin down to 3,500 Kelvin. So we can go with the warm color features up to the high bright color features depending on the application necessary, which, for example, in a school may change throughout the day. There's probably some nap times going on right now, so dimming would also be very beneficial versus when we get into needing high focus, high attention. And then another thing that our platform is going to help to address is the insufficient Wi-Fi bandwidth that is common without putting an extensive amount of boosters into a given area. So next slide, please. Our solution, again, is visible light communication on the LVX LiFi platform. This visual here is showing lights in the ceiling that through the same photons that are illuminating this space are able to communicate a bidirectional, that is the key to our patents, it is a bidirectional communication that the same photons for illumination in free space are using to communicate a wireless, often sidecar or redundant network platform. So we do not make claims or have aspirations of being a standalone, but rather being again, redundant and or sidecar networking platform from a wireless communication technology. The reason we focus in this video, or excuse me, on this slide in regards to healthcare is because in certain areas there is no RF allowed. So it can become very challenging to have a wireless communication system without visible light communication. Next slide, please. So the LVX LiFi platforms, what are some of the solutions that we bring? Well, now it's what we refer to as lighting as a service with an embedded data signal. We recognize lighting as a service is out there, but if you jump down to that third bullet, we have not been able to experience anyone else who is offering it at no capital cost to the customer upfront. We have a utility-like service offering that, please, if before anything else is retained from this communication, understand we are not a performance-driven contract. We are a utility-like service offering where our light also has an embedded data signal, which allows for a platform very similar to an App Store or a Google Play Store. We do this through the use of energy-saving LEDs, and we are able to, in situations as I described earlier, with dimmable and color adjusting and light harvesting, be able to provide a better lighting experience. This platform, as I mentioned, will offer the LiFi networking capabilities and then an enhanced wireless communication. Now, when we talk about enhanced, we do not discuss the safety. We don't want to get into that battle at this time. We're going to let others discuss that. What we talk about is security. The biggest thing about security and about bandwidth is that each of our lights is able to think of like the cone of silence, right, from Get Smart. The light does stay within a given area, which arguably could have some drawbacks against Wi-Fi, which penetrates through walls and windows and so forth. But then that increases the security because you know where your signal is going to stay within. And then when we discuss bandwidth, each of our lights becomes a communication endpoint. So when the individuals discuss owning the last mile, we own the last inch. And then this offers a phenomenal opportunity for the platform of IoT. We have 55 awarded patents here at LVX System. What we emphasize at LVX System is that that is not to prevent people from coming into the LiFi platform, but rather to protect LVX participation in the LiFi platform. We'll get to that very shortly here. If we could go to the next slide, please. So how does this all work together? Well, again, LVX provides illumination with a platform at no capital cost to the customer. Customer signs an installation agreement. This monthly service charge is a decoupled charge that includes both a base service charge as well as a fixed usage rate based on actual metered consumption. That metered consumption or metered use is going to be shown to them in data lumen hours. Data lumen hours is a proprietary trademarked algorithm of the kilowatt hours, which is our cost of service provided, converted into a data lumen hour for the customer's view. And then that base service charge, anyone familiar with an electric utility contract is going to see very, very keen similarities between how an invoice would appear from LVX to a customer. Some of the features and services that are going to be coming, this is when I talked about those 55 patents that that I mentioned. Only 9 of them actually have to do with providing visible light communication with the same photons to illuminate the space. All the rest are about all the features from a hardware standpoint and services from a software standpoint that we would be able to ensure LVX's ability to participate in or to onboard third-party engineers, developers, visionaries like our founder. Some of these things include geolocation capabilities, automation, and remote control. One that's a bit of a touchy subject in some areas, but facial recognition, door strikes, and human inventory control. In healthcare, this can become very important if individuals are able to know where nurses are or are not, as well as doctors, and schools are very keen on this opportunity because of the fact that knowing where students are, right? I think enough said there, but that's something that we have patents around and the ability to be able to integrate with. And then internet and voice over IP are very exciting for us. What this all comes down to is the service bundling opportunities on the LVX LiFi platform are near limitless. Next slide, please. Considerations for our customers, we'll go through these because I know you all can read. There is no luminaires to purchase. We are not a product selling company. We are a service offering company. LVX owns the infrastructure in the building. Thus, they don't pay any installation costs. We cover the installation cost ourselves. There's no maintenance cost during the term of the contract. We provide the maintenance. They may have a pre-approved, pre-authorized electrical contractor. That electrical contractor would then become LVX certified, would continue their engagements with the facility, with the customer. It's just those invoices would now come to be paid by LVX. There's no obsolescence. Because we own the infrastructure, we're going to keep upgrading it. We're going to keep making it more efficient. We've already got a 600 mile per gallon carburetor in our taxi cab, and we're selling taxi services. When we get an 800 mile per gallon carburetor, we're going to put that in at our own expense. They will see dramatic electrical and energy use reduction day one. We believe there's a better quality of life. That is an opinion statement. I respect that. In the very near future, secure wireless communication capabilities. Why in the near future? Because at this time, in the United States, capable devices have not yet saturated the markets. Upon research in continents like Europe and in countries like India and China, they are already starting to see the saturation of visible light communication enabled devices. It is our strong belief that it is our patent protection that is preventing that from already happening here in the United States. As we mentioned, countless additional facility and device features, services, and applications around both premise security as well as cybersecurity. Next slide, please. So I know there's a lot of numbers that just popped up at you on this, so I'll try to work through this as effectively as I can. This is an actual DLH service comparison that has been submitted and approved by a school district in the state of Minnesota. There is approximately 445,000 illuminated square feet that LVX would be engaging with across their entire district. You can see some of the numbers there. That's data. When we talk about the watts per square foot, when we talk about the kilowatt rate, when we talk about the hours per month, that's off of data the customer provided. As we work through the middle of this slide here, you can see very quickly, there is zero cost associated to the customer for the actual electricity. We pay the power company for the electricity used to illuminate our lights. There's no bulb and ballast. There's no maintenance labor. As I mentioned previously, we cover all of that. In this example, there is a 29% annual savings. Now, I'm going to emphasize, as I do in front of all customers I speak to, this is not a performance contract. If we are off by 3% and you're only saving 26%, but you didn't have to spend any money to do that, is that still okay, please? On the contrary, if that's actually 37% savings, we're not going to raise any rates on you either. Now, here's a big thing for individuals going out and working on behalf of the LVX LiFi platform. You'll notice on the right, it talks about the DLH terms. That's the initial terms of engagement from a contract. And as you go over to the second from the right, you see total savings over term. Very quickly, if you can trust my math here, if they renew that 5-year term 3 times over, their projected savings would be approximately $1.24 million. However, if they're willing to commit to and able to be sold a commitment to a data lumen hour term of 20 years, we would project that they would be saving 1.5 million because they would experience a projected 7% additional savings day one after activation from LVX. Again, what we see is the installation at no capital cost to the customer of a new lighting experience that provides a platform for yet to be developed services and features, as well as the integration of already developed services and features on the Visible Light communication platform. Thank you for your time.
Thanks so much, Corey. I know we're running a little short on time, so we can go to the next slide. Instead of doing more questions internally, what I'm going to do now is just kind of go over this one really quickly and get into wrapping things up. But please hang on, because we're going to do a Q&A real quick. First of all, as we learned, air filtration can be used to address pandemic concerns, clearly. Nano coating can help us with more efficiency on the temperature in a building year round. And then LiFi enables far faster speeds than traditional forms of bandwidth. In fact, my question for you, Corey, is how much faster is LiFi than standard bandwidth solutions? Real quick answer on that one.
Very quickly, we work off of Cable Labs analogy that was published, where it states that the bandwidth comparability between Wi-Fi and LiFi is the same comparability to the total mass of the Earth for Wi-Fi to the mass of the sun for LiFi.
Wow, okay. Good answer, good quick answer, thank you. So anyway, let's move to the next slide. And just quickly want to plug some of the upcoming events we've got. You can see next week we've got how to successfully sell AI-powered contact center solutions. Great call coming up. Tom Ferry coming on October 8th. Great speaker, talking sales secrets of top real estate agents. And then finally, we'll be back here again on October 21st for a sneak peek at our new AI-based automation easy button. Very excited about this. That'll make it much easier for everyone to do business. Let's go ahead and move to the next slide. So we're kind of getting to the end here, which is great because we have a couple more, we have questions. I'm going to go ahead and jump in right now. The first question we had was, what are the top 3 objections you will get from customers when pitching them? This was for procurement, electricity, and natural gas. I'm going to answer this one fast. This was from Vinny Musemi. So number 1, it's not a priority for me. And to that, I think the objection is, again, the low pricing right now, it's going to go away, right? So once this pricing goes up, there's really, the savings is not going to be nearly as significant. So it's a time-sensitive conversation. I think that's the best way to answer that one. Isn't this going to be a different company, or do I have to deal with a different company here? No, we're actually coming from the same source, as I mentioned earlier, and the customer service is still done by the utility. Very huge points there. And then finally, I'm in a regulated state, so I don't want to do anything in energy. No problem. We have a whole suite of other products and services that we can address with you on the efficiency side. So that's the first question. The next question was, with PCO tech, this is for you, Jason. PCO tech, can this tech be added easily on current HVAC units?
Yes, very easily. It's designed to work with existing HVAC systems. They can be installed, a few of the units in under an hour.
Okay, great. Given the effectiveness of PCO, curious what the demand is right now for PCO technology and how well known it is.
So those that become aware of it, I think the demand is very high, but there is a lack of awareness in general among the community of this technology that exists and how it works.
Right. And then I think the final one would be, well, first of all, we can share this deck, I believe. Are there PDFs available in the marketplace? Not yet. And let's see. I mean, I guess one related question for you, Jason, are these separate units or do they attach to the HVAC? Kind of a related question to the last one.
Yeah, so basically a small circle is cut in the duct system, the ductwork, and then it's slapped right in there with a few screws and releases the air cleansing molecules within the ductwork.
Got it. And I think I covered them all. Let me just make sure. Yes, I believe I did cover them all. Okay, so again, if we had more time, we would try to get into more of the information. What I would say here is change your pitch. I think this is the biggest message to take away from today. Changing your pitch from, hey, give me the telecom and cloud bill to, in light of what's going on in the world right now, I've adjusted, I've pivoted, and I'm now addressing the other big utility of energy. And within that motion, I just want to ask for, your electricity, gas, water, waste bills. So write down those 4 if you can: electricity, gas, water, and waste. Those 4 bills, if you get them in addition to the telecom and cloud bills, you're in good shape because we can run with that. So the other thing I want to mention really quickly, with that referral program, if you don't have time, we can definitely work through that. As Saul had mentioned earlier, and then in the chat as well, please do stay for a minute after the call ends for a very brief survey. Frankly, what you're going to be able to do is ask for more information. So it's a great opportunity for you to get more information on today's call. I know there's a lot of interest in that. And so with that, I want to thank John, Dan, Corey, and Dr. Field and all for joining us today. Thanks everyone, and good energy to all of you. Have a great day.